times where I wasn't, where I fell down. Do you know what I mean? Where I didn't speak my truth. So an important thing to understand is that when I feel myself fall into my ego, like, that is me lowering myself in terms of like, I am closing myself off to knowing truth. The ego is making an illusion of truth. So for example, if I feel insecure and, you know, let's say I feel insecure about other men around a girl I'm interested in. Do you know what I mean? Like, my ego is always going to be saying things like, you know, I would be giving this attention to her, they would too. You know, things like that. Like, you know, the ego starts running, and then the ego starts looking for, you know, actions. They start looking for little, like, variables or signs or signals. So, like, in the pursuit of the ego to justify its belief or its positioning, it creates situations. It creates thought patterns and thought processes that are never ending. You know, when you get those thoughts and those fears stuck in your mind, and it just goes over and over and over and over and over and over until at a point you feel on a ledge about to jump. Like, that's just the ego wearing you down and trying to condition you into believing the reality. Because the ego is afraid. The ego, you know, the ego doesn't feel good enough. The ego, you know, wants to feel like I am better than those around me. So by understanding this, what we are able to understand is just that when I get those feelings, okay, in anything that I'm doing or anything that I'm pursuing, I need to identify them as being, let's say, insecurities, and then I need to accept that, you know, I have insecurities. I need to admit I have insecurities, especially, you know, if we're talking about relationships and to the other party, is that I have to be confident within myself enough to accept that I feel insecure in this situation, and to talk to that person, because the only way to get secure is to talk to that person. You know what I mean? And sort of express myself, because holding it in only causes the mind to analyze and go over it, but it also causes fear, because there's a point in which we haven't said what we mean, we haven't said what we want to say. If anything happened, you know, and let's say on the form of a relationship, like, there's unspoken truth. So by being able to do this, and it's the same in for example, like business and in career, like when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel like I don't know how to do something, like I have to express it, you know, to those around me or to whoever I'm around, in terms of, you know, whoever I'm interacting with, you know. Like, for example, if I'm struggling with marketing, like, I have to express that to someone that can help me, a marketer, you know what I mean? And then I can resolve it. I can bottle it in and say, oh, I don't know how to market, like, I'm not good enough if I can't market, and try and, like, you know, pretend my way to there. But the easiest thing to do is to vocalize it to those in my external environment, you know. But depending, you know, when we're talking professional settings, we're talking about those professional communities. Like, we wouldn't want to be talking to the priest about, you know, the statistics of, you know, our marketing strategy and how effective it is, and new implementations that we want to put in, and, you know, future sort of not developing, but future projecting, you know, trends and things like that, like the priest wouldn't really have a clue what's going on unless he's pretty savvy. So it's sort of like we need to express ourselves, but we need to express ourselves to the right people, not just anyone. So for example, if let's say we're at a barbecue and someone says something and it hurts my feelings, okay, and we're all blokes around the barbecue, me saying, Joe, that hurt my feelings, I feel sad, you upset me, is probably going to get me punched in the face or laughed at. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's sort of like there are specific sort of relationships or specific ways in which we go about expressing ourselves. We don't just want to express ourselves to any and everyone and sort of become like one of those verbal diarrhea people where we're just out there just, you know, spewing onto everyone bullshit and shit. Like, we want to speak directly and clearly and with intention to those who have relevance. So for example, if we're, let's say, asking someone their opinion on someone, like, we don't just want to ask anyone, we want to ask someone of relevance. Like, if the person doesn't know the person we're asking for information on and they don't really understand the situation or have any context, it's sort of like, yeah, you can ask them and you may get a good result. You're probably going to get a shit result because they're probably not going to understand what's going on. You know what I mean? So like, it's sort of like, you know, we can go out there and ask any and everyone for help and you know, advice, but if they don't really have any relevance to, you know, the intention we're trying to get or what we're trying to do. So it's sort of like asking your mother for military advice. If she hasn't been in the military and you're going into war and you're about to go to combat and have to fight for your life, I don't really think she knows what the fuck she's talking about. So I wouldn't take her advice. You know what I mean? When our life is on the line and when it's a very, very serious situation, we understand these principles. When it's our emotions on the line, we don't understand these principles. Like, do you get it? So it's not like there are types of people who share emotions and use emotions to sort of not so much negatively manipulate people, but to sort of get what they want from people. So it would be manipulating if you're doing that. But basically, we want to be open and transparent and honest with our emotions, but we don't want to try and use our emotions to influence the outcome. If we're in a love situation, like, we don't want to sit there and try and say everything to get this person on board, because that's not really right. But we want to express who we are and we want to express our emotions and we want to express them directly. Like, in terms of, like, we want to express that, but we don't want to try and use that as a tool. So if you feel yourself trying to use it as a tool, trying to win, because you got to think in terms of manifestation, think of manifestation as like, manifestation is an apple tree. All we must do is reach up and pick an apple off and we have achieved a manifestation. Okay? When I find myself needing to try and, you know, get the best ones, get the best manifestation, get the best apple, you know, try to get all the apples. Like, when I feel myself get that urge or that need to sort of win in the situation, like, it's pointless. I've lost because there's nothing to win. Winning in a relationship is a divorce. Do you sort of get it? Like, when one party wins in a relationship, it's a divorce and they're getting 50% of what the other party had. Like, a relationship is a journey. There's no winning on journeys. It's sort of the experience you have on the journey. So when we think in terms of, you know, manifestation and trying to win, Like in business, if we're thinking about our business and what we're trying to achieve in business in the context of winning and losing, you know what I mean? We're more focused on the competition, we're more focused on those around us and all of this. So we just got to understand it's a journey, and at any point in time we can reach up and pick an apple off the manifestation tree, but as soon as I'm trying to pick them all off and trying to, you know, get as much as I can to try and force the manifestations, like I can pick all the apples if I want, but then there's no more apples. I've got to wait another year until more apples grow. So it's very important to understand this, and just in the context of when I feel myself trying to force things to be right or force things to fit and be where I want them to be, I am wrong. I am taking the wrong actions. When I am accepting and honest and direct in terms of, if I say I want to get into my ideal shape, I take actions towards that and I work towards that. Like, I don't say I want to get in the best shape of my life and I'm going to work out 4 days a week, but I'm eating Macca's 5 days a week. Like, you can say that, but you're just talking shit. Like, that's just that. Like, you know what I mean? Alright, well that one's going to finish off this one. I hope you had an amazing day. Thanks so much. Bye.